Hello everybody, I hope I'm audible right now. And just a minute, let me check this thing out. I'm not even sure, there could be network issue right now I may be facing. Let's see whether how it's gonna be going on. Am I audible? Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I hope I'm audible. And there's gonna be some background noise around me, so just excuse me for that. And we will be just simply going through this Kubernetes section right now. Let me see, let me fix it first of all, and then we'll continue from here. And these are the things that we have just got. Okay, let them be here, and I'll be just simply getting this work done soon. Yeah, so right now there is a good network speed if I'm not wrong, right? So alright, is without any further delay, let's simply get going. So am I not getting the good internet speed? I am getting sort of. Okay, let's see what's gonna be happening anyway. So we have covered quite a lot of things even today, that what Google Meet project, whatever we were working on, the clone that we were working on, that almost got done. So now onwards we don't really need to worry about that, and that simply means we are gonna be focusing on something else. And this is how things are gonna be going on. Just a minute, दरवाजे बंद कर देना. Okay, and right now we are simply gonna be talking about the Kubernetes section over here, and let's see how many things we can cover. As for tomorrow, just a minute, give me a second. Alrighty. So as for yesterday, we covered the clusters, we have gone through pods, and right now we are gonna be going through the remaining things. One more thing, again, ignore the background noise. I can't really do anything regarding that. They'll keep making noise, doesn't matter what I do, so just ignore that. Okay, so this is how it's gonna be going on, and we covered the clusters. Let me even open spin up the project as well, so that we can just simply work on that learning. And what we are going through, we are going through the to-dos deployment part. We are actually supposed to be creating a proper backend, proper front end, and we are supposed to be deploying that. And once this particular thing is done, then we are actually gonna be we will deploy that which project, the project that we have just simply created right now, that is the Google Meet clone project. We will be deploying that. So this is how it's gonna be done. But it is not just that. We will try mostly gonna be kind x, and that was kts.io / v1 alpha 4. So this is the configuration, and then we need to have what, the next thing is that we need to have nodes over here, exactly how many nodes we want. And in that case, we want 3 nodes. The first one is gonna be control plane, and these are the things that we actually covered yesterday. Second one is gonna be again row, that's gonna be just normal worker, and another that's also gonna be a worker. Let's have one more, and that's gonna be also normal worker. So this is how it's gonna be going on. I will have to just stop using Docker over here, because I think I don't need to do it. Docker needs to be there anyhow. So let me do one thing. Let me make them smaller. And right now what I'm gonna be doing, Docker, I will have to stop anyway. Docker, I have to start it. So Docker desktop start. So it needs to be started, and then we will try and see whether this configuration actually works or not. Alrighty, so this much we have done. Docker process status, we have these things running right now. So of course kind get clusters if I done. So I even have to delete them local. So kind delete cluster. I'm gonna be deleting this cluster. The name is the local over here. So it should be deleted. And right now what we want 3 3 workers and 1 control plane. So we will be just simply creating the cluster using this configuration. So already that is already inside. Oops, over here. So if I say kind create cluster, just like this, and the configuration for this is gonna be a local cluster that we have. The name is gonna be local over here, and let's see. So it has started creating that. That simply means the configuration that we have written, that is right. Okay, so this is the first thing. And right now we are gonna be writing the configuration for the pod. But the thing is that when you are writing the configuration for the pod in the sense, you are just simply running some image over there, so you can directly run the image as well. Even you could have directly created the cluster as well. So it's completely up to you. Let me even show that particular command, and then we will just simply go ahead. So for creating the cluster directly, you can just simply say kind create cluster, and that's it. I mean, this much is enough. You can even provide the name over here, and it will just simply create a cluster. The only drawback is that you just get only one control plane, nothing else. And here, once we created the cluster using this particular configuration, so we must have got get nodes. So here we have 3 worker nodes over here and 1 control plane. So yeah, it's completely up to us how we wanna configure that. Similarly, you can run apps inside or any image, ultimately any app inside the pod, ultimately inside the container, using this command. So run kubectl run. What should be the name? Suppose its name is nginx app. What is the image? Suppose the image is nginx latest. Okay, what should be the port number? Suppose port number is 18. Well, port number is of course 18. What should be the labels over here? Suppose labels is app nginx. So this is how we can just simply run this, and of course it is gonna be running. But again, we don't wanna run it manually all the time. So that is why we are gonna be creating a manifest file for this. To be precise, we will be writing the configuration. So first of all, we are going to be creating namespace over here. So namespace, what are the namespaces? We have already talked about it earlier. API version, that's going to be v1 over here. And metadata, I'm not going to be talking about this thing over here because we talked about all these things yesterday. So name is going to be, suppose this is going to be the front end team. Excuse me. Let's continue. So name is gonna be not front end team. Name is gonna be front end. You can even name it front end app. Completely up to you what you wanna name that. And then it will have namespace, and that namespace is gonna be, well, actually we are creating the namespace over here. Sorry, I thought I was creating the deployment. Sorry, pod. So we have namespace over here, and metadata name of the namespace is gonna be front end team. Suppose this is the name of the namespace is. And from here we are gonna be creating a pod. So we want to create a pod. API version, that's gonna be v1 over here, and metadata, let's configure the metadata over here, and that's gonna be pretty simple. It just simply needs the name. What should be the name? So suppose this is gonna be front end pod that will be responsible for running the front end, and then we have what after that we will have namespace over here. So namespace is gonna be front end team that we have created just at the top. We'll have some labels over here, and when it comes to the labels, so app is gonna be equals to front end. This is the front end. So this is the label over here. Once we have gone through this thing, let's simply describe the specs over here. I will have containers. So containers inside the pod, there are gonna be containers running, and in those containers there can be many containers as well. So node, we will have name, that's gonna be, suppose nginx I'm gonna be running over here. Second, we can run MongoDB probably. It's completely up to you what you wanna run. So we can run nginx. One more thing that I wanted to ask from the ChatGPT, of course, from here over here, and that is a pod can run multiple containers, but why can't we run two processes running on the same port if there are different containers? So a pod can actually run multiple containers right now, right? And if it is actually running multiple containers, so that simply means those containers have their own port numbers and all. So in this way, if I run two processes, two apps that are running on the same port, so why am I getting the error? What I think that as it is using two containers, a pod, ultimately two containers are there. So they should have their own port numbers, but it's not like that. Rather, I'm getting an error saying that that port is maybe being used or something. So let's see what this ChatGPT is gonna say, and then we'll see what we can do. Alrighty, so you are very close, but there's one important concept about pods that is causing the confusion. Key idea: containers in the same pod share the same network. Even though a pod can run multiple containers, they do not have separate networking. That's right. Inside a pod, all containers share same IP address, same network namespace, same local host. Got it. So even if they are separate containers, they share the same network. So what this means practically, if you have container A runs on port 3000, container B also tries to run on port 3000, you will get a port already in use because both containers are trying to bind to this same network, local host. And since they share the same network, conflict happens. Why Kubernetes designed it in it this way. A pod is designed to behave like a single machine or logical host. So multiple containers, like multiple processes inside the same machine, they can run, they can talk via local host, but they must coordinate port uses already. So they can just simply talk using port. That makes sense. So we will have to run them on different ports in order to run them well. Okay, that's fine, got it. So this is what we have to keep in mind, that of course we cannot run multiple containers on the I mean multiple apps on the same process. So we have the name over here. Once the name is here, we are going to be having the image as well. The image is going to be suppose nginx and latest, and then the port number, well, ports, let's have the ports as well. This is just gonna be for the description purpose. So container port, and that's gonna be port 80 because it often runs on port 80. The next thing that we want to run over here, that's gonna be probably running what name is gonna be, this first one is the nginx, second one is gonna be, let's name it mongodb. That would be better. MongoDB. Next, nginx app, let's name it nginx app. Hopefully they are gonna be running. So MongoDB is gonna be running. That simply means image image is gonna be Mongo, I think latest, that's the one. And ports are gonna be for this, that's gonna be container port, and for MongoDB 27017. Similarly, let's try to run one more over here, name, and that's gonna be Postgres database. So Postgres DB, and image is gonna be Postgres latest. I'm not sure whether this is the right name or not, but let's see, we'll check this thing out. So ports and container port, that's gonna be 5432. Again, this much is not enough. We even need to provide the environment variable over here for sure. And when it comes to the environment variables, we have to see how to assign the environment variable. If I'm not wrong, it should be assigned like this. So Postgres password, somewhat like this. This is something I have to know more about. So in my notes, of course, I will have it for sure. But the question is that where that is. A deployment we have, projects we have, probably inside the deployments we'll have that. So let me just simply have a look at this quickly. So we have MongoDB over here. So Mongo latest, that's the right image that we are using. But yeah, we do have Postgres over here. And when we have Postgres, so port number, it takes this environment variable. We actually give the values like this to the environment variable. We need to have a name, and then we need to have the value, and this way it can be done. Alrighty, not really bad. So let's go with that. So you cannot give the environment variables like this. Rather, you need to make sure that you are passing the name like this, and the name is gonna be Postgres password, if I'm not wrong. So that was Postgres password, exactly right. So Postgres password, this is how it's gonna be going on, and then it will have the values can be anything. So let me make it Postgres 1234. That's just the password, that doesn't really matter. So ultimately 3 containers we are gonna be running. The thing that we have to see whether they are actually gonna be running or not. Overall, the configuration that we have to make, that's already done. Let me try to run this, see what happens. So for running this, we will have to just simply apply. It's okay, apply f file name, and that's gonna be pod manifest ml. Pod created successfully. So k get pods. If I just simply run, I will not get any result, because of course I have used the namespace over here, and the namespace is front-end team, just like this. Ultimately, I do have a front-end pod running, but 0 services are running right now. So let me just wait for a while, and hopefully they will start soon. Until they start, I can't really do anything. I can do one thing, that is describing the pod and seeing exactly how just simply works and all. But container is getting created, but still it's taking time. That's insane. Probably something went wrong. So okay, describe pod. I'm gonna be describing front end pod. The namespace is front end team. Let's simply run this, and what it has done over here, that first of all it got the Nginx, then it created that, it is pulling the MongoDB, it is creating that. Okay, that's fine. I can even follow it if I'm not wrong. Not really follow, actually I can watch it in the watch mode. Well, it's not really gonna be working. In that case, let me just keep looking at that. So pulling the image of Mongo latest, and it is not really able to do anything more than that. Okay, so container got created for Nginx. So if I say get pods, and the namespace is gonna be front end team over here, front end team. So ultimately none of them is, they're not running, something is going wrong here. So pulling image Mongo latest, and more than this I'm not really able to get anything. So let's do one thing, let's try to get the logs of MongoDB container. I mean, we have to get the logs. So when it comes to getting the logs, so k logs, let me get rid of this, k logs of front end pod, the container is gonna be MongoDB, namespace is gonna be front end team. Run this. Error server, container MongoDB in pod front end is waiting to start, container getting created, container hasn't been even created. Is it facing issues to run many containers at the same time? Error from server, bad request, container MongoDB in pod frontend is waiting to start, it hasn't been started yet. So k get pods m n frontend team. Well, it's been 3 minutes and it is still getting created. That simply means something went wrong, but how am I supposed to be checking? Alrighty, let me give it to the chat GPT and see what we can do here. How to check that what is stopping the container creation, just like this. Let's see. When you it means Kubernetes is still trying to start the container, but something is blocking it, image pool, volume, network, etc. So step by step. So first of all, kubectl describe pod, this is your main debugging. Look at the event section, it will tell you exactly what we have gone through it, and it is just simply telling me check the pod status in detail. So kubectl get pods front end wide, so output should be wide over here, something like this. Kubectl pods front end pod and YAML. Let me try to get this in that format. It just took some time, that's it, but at the end of the day it has started. It took quite a lot of time, around 4 minutes or something, and then it got started. But ultimately all the containers are running. Let's see if all of them are running correctly. So for that thing, k logs, I'm gonna be checking the logs of the front end pod, of course, and the container name is gonna be first of all Nginx, and the namespace is gonna be front end team. So container Nginx is not valid for pod front end pod. What is the name of that? Nginx app is the name, so let me go with that. The container name is Nginx app. Let me run this. So ultimately it is running, we are getting the result over here. Ultimately we are getting the logs. The second thing is the MongoDB, that's running. So yeah, it is also running, we are able to see the logs here. And lastly we have Postgres that is running. So Postgres DB, and let's see, we are even getting the logs from the Postgres DB, and it is ready to accept connections and all. So yeah, that is sort of working. So that is what we had to just simply go through, and we are actually able to run these 3 apps, call them processes inside or 3 services inside our pod. So we have gone through this much. Okay, what is the next thing that we can do? We have even created the name namespace over here. So if I run k get namespace, I'm gonna be getting the new namespace that I have created, and that is the front end div that has been created 5 minutes ago. That is it. We have some default namespace as well. By default, if you don't give any namespace, that goes to this particular one only, and there are some system namespaces. So yeah, we have gone through this. And as for the services, okay, get SVC. We are not gonna be getting, well, SVC actually. We have one cluster service that got created automatically, and we don't really have any others. So okay, we have gone through this much. So ultimately talking about the things, because this is the revision section sort of that's going on. So let's get rid of this. Coming back to this particular section, we have talked about clusters, so we need not talk about that. And then we have gone through the pods, exactly how the pods are created. We have even talked about all these things in detail. And then we talked about how the manifest file can be created, and lastly how you can just simply apply the manifest file. Not only that, how you can delete the pod. So once the pod is created, you can even delete the pod, and this is how it just simply gets done. Let's talk about replica set. Now what is the replica set? First of all, you created a cluster, then you created the pod. Replica sets are the manager, yeah, kind of manager. So replica set is just a manager that manages the pods. So manages the pods in the sense, here you will just define exactly how many replicas you want, and those replicas will be creating the pods, deleting the pods, recreating the pods if the pod crashed on all. So it just simply does the job, as simple as that. Replica set manages the pods, creation, updation, deletion, doesn't matter what you talk about, but it just simply manages that. Question: how you can create it? And the answer is that this is the configuration to create the replica set. So API version, that's gonna be apps v1. So far we have gone through cluster, we have gone through pods, we have gone through namespaces, and over there version was 1. Here version is this. Kind is the replica set over here. That is something we have to keep in mind. We of course have to provide it the metadata. Once we are providing it the metadata, we can definitely provide it the namespace as well. So this particular replica set will belong to a particular namespace. Then we have some specification over here. We have replicas, exactly how many replicas we want. Those replicas will be responsible for running the pods. We have selector over here. Selector in the sense, on the basis of this particular label, it will be selecting the pods, because once you configure replica set, then you are just simply saying that you want 3 replicas. So 3 replica sets are gonna be created. Once they are created, they are gonna be creating their pods. So ultimately, once the replica set is created, it will create 3 replicas. Those replicas will be running the pods and all. So at the time you will have, because in your company there can be many pods running, right? So you have to only you have to make sure that you are only creating or deleting or updating the pods that belong to you, and for that we are using this label over here. So this label is used over here, and this label is used over here. So any app that has the same label, that will be managed by this particular replica set, as simple as that. Ultimately replica sets are the managers. They are going to be managing the pods. So how will they be recognizing that, okay, I have to manage this particular pod? If this pod crashes, I have to create a new one, and they will be finding or recognizing the pods based on the labels. It's pretty simple. So coming back to this one, the selector will be matching the labels based on this. So match labels is gonna be app nginx. Even when we are creating the template over here, because of course replica set manages the pod, so you will have to give it the sort of a template that tells you what you want to be running inside the pod. Pod is gonna be created, but what you want to be running inside the pod, and this template just tells everything about that. So we have metadata over here. Metadata, of course, that's gonna be labels over here, and then we have specs, containers, and everything else is gonna be the same. Pretty simple. Let's try to rewrite it from scratch on or on, then it will make even more sense. Right now, of course, it's gonna be a bit confusing. So let me create replica set over here. So rs.ml I'm gonna be creating over here. That stands for replica set. And let's try to go through each and everything. So first of all, let's have the namespace over here, because we have few pods running already here. So k get pods, actually k get pods namespace frontend team. This is the pod that we have running over here, and what we'll be doing, we'll be stopping it. So k get k delete pod, and once the pod, and what is the name of the pod? That is the front end pod. The namespace is gonna be front end team, and let me delete this. k get pods namespace front-end team, and this is deleted. K get namespaces. I'm still getting this front-end team namespace, so let me delete this namespace as well. So k delete namespace, and front-end team is the namespace that we want to delete. Wait for a while, it usually takes some time. Done. K get namespaces and right now we should not be getting the previous one. So yeah, that's right. What are we gonna be doing now? We are gonna be creating, first of all, we'll be creating namespace, because this replica set is gonna be for the front-end team. For example, we are creating this replica set for the front-end team. So what we'll be doing, front-end replica set. Let me do it. We can even create the different deployments. Yeah, front-end deployment, back-end deployment, and this is how it can be created. For now, let me do one thing. Front-end replica set.ml. Let me just simply create this and see what's gonna be happening next. Okay, so this is the front-end replica set. Over here, I will just say, what do I want? I want replica set. What is the API version of the replica set? The API version of the replica set is apps/v1 if I'm not wrong. And once we have this, what next? Okay, what is the metadata of this replica set? Replica set should have a name, and that's it. Alright everybody, welcome back. The last time for some reason the network connectivity got and the network dropped for some reason, and because of that thing even it was unable to run. So it was unable to pull the image. That was the main reason behind it, and I don't really know like why it happened. It usually happens on my side, so okay, sorry for that. Let's simply continue from here on. So sorry for that. Let's how many times am I gonna be saying sorry, but okay, never mind. So let me try to see whether it works or not now. It should be pulling the image, but I think it's gonna be taking some time. So can I just simply k apply f front end ml, change nothing is changed there. So how about probably deleting all the pods? So k delete pods front end team. Alrighty, all of them are deleted right now. That simply means new pods are gonna be started, hopefully. Done. K get pods front end team. So new pods are running right now. That's good. That's what we want to do. And all of them are in the running state. So yeah, that's it. The job is done, bro. Whatever we wanted to do. Even we deleted all the previous pods. The new pods got created automatically. That simply means replica set is doing the job. So alrighty, this replica set section is almost done, and we have even written this configuration on or on. So ultimately, this is the configuration that we have written, and you can even provide the namespace over here. It's completely up to you. Again, we use this command to just simply apply this. Then kubectl get a replica set or a replica set. You can write both the bits, and you are gonna be getting the result. Kubectl get pods to get the pods. Kubectl delete pod nginx. You can just simply delete the pod as well. New pod will automatically be created by the replica set. Replica set is responsible for that. Kubectl run nginx pod. You can even give the labels to the. You can create the ultimately a pod on your own and give it the same label. You will not be able to create that because replica set will make sure that max to max you have only 3 replicas, not more than that. If you have less than that, it will increase the number of pods. It will if you have more than that, it will decrease the number of the pods. Kubectl delete a replica set. You can delete the replica set directly. We haven't done that, but of course we are gonna be doing that. And kubectl delete pods all. Forcefully you can delete all the pods as well. Again using force this particular tag over here, like it's completely up to you. Directly it will work. Forcefully in the sense it will just have force on top of that. Okay, so we have gone through this. Replica set section is done. Let's talk about the deployment. Deployment is sort of like replica set only. So the API version is gonna be this. Kind is gonna be deployment. Now why do we need deployment when we have replica set? And the answer is that some time or the other you are gonna be changing your the versions of the images, right? Suppose you have the version 1, then sometime you will have the version 2, then version 3. So ultimately replica set is gonna be changing. So over the time, what will happen when you just keep building your project, your replicas. Am I facing the network issue? This thing is pretty common on my. Hello everybody, welcome back. I've been facing the network issues quite a few times, and because of that thing, of course, I had to just take a break in between. By the way, let's continue. So what I was saying that you need deployment so that you can manage the replica sets well. Why do you need to manage the replica sets? Because sometime or the other, either today or tomorrow, sooner or later, you are gonna be making some changes in the replica set. Probably you are gonna be changing the version of the image that you are using inside the template. So at that time, deployment is responsible for managing the replica sets. Managing the replica sets in the sense, as soon as the new version you added, you started a new version. So deployment will make sure that it will keep the previous replica set running. It will keep the previous pods running. It will get a new replica set. So deployment will be responsible for creating a new replica set whenever there are new changes. And if everything goes right on the new version, it will slowly delete the previous pods. As simple as that. And lastly, it will delete the replica set as well. Will it? Let's see. So this is how it just simply goes, and it is pretty simple. So it's sort of the same. You need deployment, metadata, Nginx deployment, replicas, selector, match labels, everything else is same. It is just the name that you are changing over here. Earlier you were writing a replica set over here. Right now you are writing deployment over here. And remaining things are exactly just like deployment, replica set. So you don't really need to change anything. We can definitely write the configuration again, and then this deployment will be creating the replica set automatically. Okay, so this is how it just simply goes. So let me do one thing. We have the replica set, so let me delete the replica set. Replica set once deleted, it will delete all the pods as well. So k get res, well, k get res that belongs to the front end team. Oh come on, just like this I have this replica set running. K delete rs, I'm gonna be deleting front end replica set that belongs to front end team namespace. K get rs namespace front end team, and that's it. We don't have any replica sets. That simply means we don't have any pods, isn't that? Yeah. K get pods that belongs to the front end team, and we don't have any pods either. So let's do one thing, because we are just working on this particular section, so it's better to create a namespace, front end namespace first of all, because we better just simply have the what is that thing called. Okay, let this namespace be over here. Doesn't really matter, because even if you are trying to create the namespace again, it will make sure that the same namespace is not really being used. Okay, so this is the replica set we have talked about, and even I can delete the namespace right now, not really required. K get namespaces, because the same namespace you will be creating again. But if you want to delete, so you can delete K delete namespace, and that's gonna be front end team. You can delete it like this, completely up to you. Delete it or not, doesn't really matter. What are we gonna be doing now? Lastly, I'm gonna be creating front end deployment.ml. That's gonna be the important bit part over here, and it's exactly front end deployment.ml. That's front end deployment manifest.ml. Call it anything, doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is how we are gonna be going ahead, and how we'll be doing the things pretty simple. Yeah, what do we want to create? First of all, we want to create the deployment. Pretty simple. API version. What should be the API version of this? That's gonna be app/v1. What should be the metadata? That simply means what data it will contain. So metadata is gonna be what? Metadata will be I'm gonna be mentioning the name of this deployment, and this deployment is the front end deployment. You can have backend deployment. Things will keep going on like this. I gonna have the namespace over here, and the namespace is gonna be front end team. But the question is, do I have the namespace ready right now? Not really. So let me do one thing, create the namespace at the top. So kind of namespace API version, that's gonna be v1 over here. Metadata and name is gonna be front-end team. Pretty simple. Once this is done, let me come back here, and now let's specify some specs over here. And again, we need to have selector first of all. Before even that, we need to have replicas. Exactly how many replicas this particular deployment needs to be needs to create. Suppose 3 I want, and then selector on the basis of which label replica set will be selecting or deciding that this particular pod belongs to me. So it will, or making the changes on them on the basis of it will be selecting. So we gonna have a selector. Selector will have match labels. This is gonna be the label for matching, and the label is app and front ends on the basis of this. So whichever pod has this particular label, that will belong to this particular replica set, the replica set that will be created by this deployment. And what else? We'll have a template over here, as simple as that. Inside the template you will have the metadata as usual, metadata, and that metadata will have the labels, of course. That labels will have the real labels, so front end. So if you just see that this particular label and the above label, both of them are the same, that simply means whenever the selector starts selecting, it will select all the pods that has the same label. By the way, let me write the specs for the pod. So specs will have many it can have many containers. Inside those containers there can be many apps running. So right now suppose Nginx is running in them. So Nginx app, you gotta practice it. Once you practice, it's actually easy to just simply write it. Actually really easy to write it. Just practice once or twice and then you will be done, sorted. Image Nginx latest ports, container port. By default it runs on port 80. Let's do one thing. Instead of running this, I'm gonna be running httpd. So httpd app, enough of running Nginx over here, just I have to replace it. So httpd, this is how it will just simply keep going on, and that's it. You don't really need to do anything else. Will it work? Why not? ls k apply f front-end deployment, right? It has been created. That simply means k get a deployment. Will you get anything? Not really. You will have to mention the namespace. You will have to mention the namespace over here. What was the namespace? Namespace was front-end team. So we have this front-end deployment that is supposed to be running 3 replica sets. 0 of them are just simply running right now. Let's simply wait for a while. 1 of them is running, 3 of them are running. So we needed 3 replicas, 3 of them are running. So this is the deployment. That simply means this deployment should be creating replicas. So yeah, it is supposed to be creating replicas. So k get a replica sets, and namespace is gonna be front-end team. So here this is the replica set that got created by the deployment. We needed 3 of them are running. Okay, that simply means this replica set would have created pods. Of course 3 pods need to be there because 3 replicas are running, sort of. K get pods, front-end team. Here we have 3 replicas. 3 pods. Let me logs, check the logs. So k logs, I wanna check the log of this. It belongs to the front-end team, and here we are getting this particular log as well. That simply means it is up and running. So congratulations, we have gone through this section as well. So we know how we can get the deployment, replica sets, pods, how we can apply the deployment. Rollout, really interesting stuff over here. What is this? Should we discuss this thing here? It's gonna be a bit we'll talk about this when this needs to be talked about. But the question is that for this thing I'll actually have to create a backend that we actually have already. So why not do it? What is gonna happen that kubectl roll out undo deployment nginx to version 1. That simply means it will have many versions. You are gonna be just simply rolling out to the previous version. Suppose you made some changes and you applied that particular deployment. That deployment will be creating a new replica set, and there is some error in that particular replica set. At that time you can just simply roll back to the version 1. So we will be going through this, don't worry. We can go through it right now, really. Suppose instead of using latest, I'm gonna be using latest version 1. This is the wrong tag. I will get the error. Getting the error means a new replica, but new replica set will definitely be created. So if I say k apply f and what front end deployment, if I just run this, so deployment is configured. That simply means k get replica sets front end, namespace is gonna be front end. I should have 2 replica sets right now because there were some changes in the configuration of deployment. That simply means it's gonna be getting 2 replica sets, and we have that. But if you actually have a look over here, this is the replica set, the current one that got created, but 0 of them are ready. So none of them are running. Why they are not running? Because this version was wrong over here, and hence by the way, we don't even need to roll out. We can roll out anyway. So roll out in the sense this particular replica set will be removed. Let's see how it's gonna be going on. K get pods. If I just have a look at the pods, and front end team is the namespace over here. So ultimately, one new front end pod started. Started getting created, but because of the version mismatch, it could not really fetch the image, and because of that thing, it is just simply saying that image pull back off and all. Okay, what can we do now? We can run this particular command. What will this do? I don't even know. Hopefully, it should be deleting the current replica set that we have got, and it will be moving us to the previous version. Kubectl scale deployment nginx. This is okay. We know about this. It will just simply changing the numbers of replicas on the go. So either you just simply change the number in the configuration, or you just simply say kubectl deployment nginx deployment replicas. You can make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. It will be just simply changing the number of replicas. But let's talk about this. Kubectl rollout undo. We have to undo deployment nginx. By the way, this is not the right one. So let me just write the command on my own. So kubectl in the sense key in my case. We have to roll out. I don't even know what this command will do. Undo, we have to do undo. Deployment, we have to undo deployment. I think it will roll out, go to the previous version. And what is the name of the deployment? That's gonna be the front end deployment in my case. Front end deployment. And what do we have to do? Revision. I think that's the one, to revision, and 1. We have to go to the previous version if I'm not wrong. If I run this, what will happen? Well, deployment apps front end deployment not found. It is not found. So we'll have to of course give it the namespace as well. So namespace is the front end team. Let me run this. It is still saying that it is not found. So front end deploy. Okay, the name is wrong actually. So let me do one thing. Deployment slash front end deployment. Run this. It is saying not found, so I'll have to give it the namespace as well. That's gonna be front end team. Still saying not found. K roll out undo deployment nginx deployment front end deployment to revision this, and what it is saying, not found deployment apps, front end deployment not found. So let me do one thing, deployment dot apps, this much. Let me run this. Still deployments actually. It is not able to find that anyway. Let me copy it. Let's see what's gonna happen now. And kubectl nginx, this should be actually front end right now. Front end deployment. What is the name of this? Front end deployment. Yeah, that's the right name for that particular deployment. Not found. That is fine. I'm gonna be giving it the namespace as well. So namespace is gonna be front end team. Okay, it has rolled back right now. Probably I was mentioning the namespace at last, that was the problem. So K get a replica sets that belongs to front end team. Rolling back in the sense what? Rolling back in the sense it has made 000, and that simply means we don't have any replicas, any pods. K get pods that belongs to front end team. And yeah, so rolling back in the sense whichever new pods got created and there was bug in them, of course. I mean, image could not be pulled for sure, so we are just simply gonna be rolling one step back. Hopefully this is it. And rollout history deployment nginx, we can get the rollout history of that, get the history of the deployment. Kubectl rollout undo deployment engine. These are some of the advanced, though not really that advanced, but okay, a little bit advanced intermediate I can say. So kubectl rollout undo deployment nginx. You can just simply, well, undo the last deployment. So it will just simply undo the last deployment. If you are just simply setting the revision, that simply means it will give you the current, the first one, and if once you are just simply undoing, so it will be just simply undoing the last one. So yeah, what it means that if you by mistake change the made the changes and even applied the configuration and now something went wrong, so you can undo the change anytime. You can just simply roll out. Not only that, you can even get the history. So let me just first command is K roll out, and what is that? Roll out undo and deployment, and the name of your deployment, that's gonna be, for in my case, front end team namespace, and that's gonna be front, well, that was front end deployment anyway. The deployment namespace is gonna be front end team, and if I run this, it does work. Roll back. And not only that, you can even check the histories. Okay, roll out history deployment front end deployment namespace is gonna be front end team. Run it. So this is the deployment that you have 3 and 4. This is the revision version. So initially you deployed it, the revision version was 3, then you deployed it again, the revision version was 4. So you can switch back to the 3 right now. In the 4 you just got some errors, right? So in the revision version 3 you had the normal app running, so you can just simply switch back to that. I mean, roll back to that. It's as simple as that. So yeah, but the thing is that by here I mentioned 1 dash is not really correct. There should be revision version 3 because the first version was 3 over here, so we have to keep that particular thing in mind. Overall things are fine. If I say K get replica sets and front end team, so here we rolled back to the last commit, last deployment. Well, rolling back to the last deployment is problematic, so let me roll back to the which deployment? Let me roll back to the first deployment, that is the third one actually over here. So to revision, that is 3 here. I think it will not work. It worked, great. So K get replica sets front end team. Why I thought? Because I mentioned the namespace at the end, but even if you mention the namespace at the end, it does work, great. And that's became 000. So yeah, you can switch back to the, you can roll back to the previous deployment, or you can roll back to the first deployment. For that thing you need to know the name of you need to know the revision number, and for that thing you can just simply run K roll out history of what? History of the deployments, of course. So deployment and front end and deployment. Well, don't run this. It even needs the namespace, exactly which namespace it belongs to, because by default it just simply takes the default namespace, and if it of course doesn't belong to that, and that is why not found error you are getting over here. Front end team. And here we have these versions over here. The version was 4, version was 5, and this is how you can just simply keep going on. So you will have to keep the number in mind for sure in your mind. Alrighty, so this much we have done. And then what else we have here? Nginx selector 3, match labels, app, metadata, containers. We can run 2 containers as well. We've talked about this enough in detail. And what else? We've gone through this. You can get you will be getting all the processes anyway, and this is how you can just simply delete the deployment. Deleting is not a problem, not really. The thing is that kget all, yeah, it will be giving you everything. By the way, when you want to get all, you will have to mention a over here. That simply means it will be giving you everything that belongs to all the namespaces. So we have what? We have a few things over here, many things actually, literally many things. We have 3 pods running here, and then we have some pods running by the system. Then we have few cluster IPs over here. We have few what is this? I mean, these are the kube system related processes that are running, kproxy and all. And then we have deployments, and over here we have front-end deployment that is running right now. So if you just simply copy this whole thing and just delete the deployment, so by this name, deployment apps front-end deployment, using this particular name, you can delete the deployment anyway. So we will be doing that, or even you can delete the deployment directly if you just mention the name. So what I want, okay, delete, I think you should be able to delete the deployment directly. So okay, delete deployment, that's actually deployment. I want to delete front-end deployment. If I run this, not found, that belongs to front-end team. Yeah, it does work. Great. So even this thing is gonna be working directly. You can, with the help of the name as well. If I see kget deployment namespace front-end team, you are gonna be getting nothing. Kget rs belongs to the front-end team, you will be getting nothing here. The job is done. So yeah, it's not like only with this name you can delete. Well, of course, with this name you know exactly what is the deployment that you want to delete. And the another command is this as well, like just directly with the help of the name you can delete it anyway. Cube cut up. So we've gone through this thing, and we can run many containers. We can just simply kubectl create deployment and this we can create the deployment directly. So kubectl create deployment nginx, this is the name of the deployment, this is the image that it will be running, this is the port number, replicas. I mean, of course you can get the command from the Google easily, but it's good to just simply know about that. Then we have a kubectl apply if we have gone through these things. Let's try this thing out exactly whether it gets created or not. So what we have to do, okay, kubectl create, we want to create deployment. It's pretty simple. Deployment, what should be the name? Suppose front-end team, front-end deployment is gonna be the name. What should be the image? The image should be, suppose, nginx latest. I mean, literally easy, right? And you can specify the port number. Can we? Yeah, port number 80. You can specify the replicas, exactly how many replicas you want. Suppose I want 3 replicas over here. You can specify the namespace, exactly what namespace it should have. So namespace is gonna be namespace, that's gonna be front-end team. You can specify the labels, apps, app, front-end, and that is it, done. There is a problem. What is the problem? Labels is the problem. Yeah, sorry, it should be like this. Let me run this again. Labels is the problem. The thing is that we are creating a deployment, unknown flag labels, so deployment cannot directly get that label. Never mind, at least this much it is created. Kget deployment namespace is gonna be front-end team. We have this deployment over here. It has started 3 replicas, so we are gonna be getting the replicas as well, rs. So we have 3 replicas running. We are gonna be getting 3 pods as well, and the job is done, bro. You can delete the deployment directly. So okay, delete deployment. And what is the name of the deployment? That's gonna be front-end deployment. Which namespace it belongs to? It belongs to front-end team. Run this. Okay, get replica sets all. Of course we don't have, well, we have 1 replica set. I wanted to get the deployment anyway. Deployment. If you just mention -a, that's in capital A, it will make sure that it's gonna be giving the deployment that belongs to all the namespaces that you have right now. So well, we have a few deployments running, but they belong to the system, not to us. Okay, so this particular thing is done, and k get namespace, k delete namespace. We have this namespace running right now. I mean created a front-end team. So let me delete this. What else? So that's also gonna be deleted. We have gone through this. You can check out the logs of the deployment, logs of the pods with the help of the proper containers as well. We have gone through it, and then we are getting Postgres deployment, Postgres app, Postgres data. This, congratulations, we have gone through this. So we have gone through the deployment part as well. We have, now it's all about EKS, AWS. How long has it been anyway? It was 29. No, this is not the right timing. This is the right timing. It's been 1 hour and 10 minutes. That simply means 50 minutes are still remaining. So let me take a break for 10 minutes or something. Then I'll be back, and then we'll continue from here. So we are actually gonna be focusing on creating an AWS Kubernetes machine, and then we'll continue with the remaining things, right? But congratulations, we have gone through clusters, spots, replica sets, and this is the revision part. It's not like I'm going through it for the first time. I have actually talked about it in more than enough detail earlier in previous lives, and that is why it's easy for me to just simply go through them really easily. But yeah, it does take time initially when you start learning them. I'm gonna be catching up after 10 minutes, after a proper break. After that, we'll be live for 1 more hour, and then we'll get it done, this particular section. And this is how we are gonna be going ahead. The best thing is that we are actually writing the configuration or on. Yeah. Okay. So this way we are just simply learning a lot of things. I'm gonna be catching up soon. Until then, take care, bye bye, and see you.